Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really striking piece of content. It's a YouTube video, and the title alone tells you a lot. The revolution has begun. France is finished.
Wow, yeah. That's not subtle.
Not at all. And it makes these incredibly strong, provocative claims. It talks about a storm roaring through Europe's polished glass towers and marble halls.
Sounds dramatic.
It is. And the video specifically says this is something no one in the West wants to talk about.
Okay, so that's our job then, right? Our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack what this video is arguing, look at its claims about these big economic and political shifts.
And why it frames it as this, uncomfortable truth for the West.
Exactly. It's a pretty bold narrative they're putting forward.
Yeah.
Definitely needs a closer look.
It really does. I mean, the central idea is quite something. It's saying France's economy is in a tailspin, a crisis.
Okay.
But the force behind it, according to this video, isn't, say, Brussels or Washington. Nope. It claims the pressure is coming from African capitals, places like Bamako, Ouagadougou, Niamey.
Right, so a complete flip of the usual power dynamic narrative.
Precisely. A kind of radical inversion, suggesting African nations are driving this alleged French crisis.
And the video actually calls this a revolution, doesn't it? Something the West supposedly didn't see coming.
Yes, exactly. Led by, as the video puts it, young African leaders who've, quote, torn the colonial script to shreds. A very vivid image.
Definitely vivid. They're saying these leaders are actively pushing back against French influence.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. Let's start with what the source actually claims about France's economic situation.
All right.
It throws out some big numbers. It alleges France racked up $40 billion in new debt in just 3 months.
40 billion. In 3 months. It's huge.
And it claims the total national debt is now at $3.3 trillion. The source just flat out calls this unsustainable.
3.3 trillion.
Okay.
And beyond the debt figures.
Well, it paints a picture of, factories shutting down, big companies moving out, investors getting spooked and leaving.
So a broader economic malaise, not just debt.
Exactly. The video puts it starkly. The backbone of the French economy has snapped, implying a real fundamental collapse is underway.
Wow. Okay, so that's the alleged state of France's economy. Now, the crucial link. How does the video connect this directly to Africa?
Right. This is key to their whole argument. The video claims that for decades, France essentially lived large off the sweat and blood of African nations. It specifically names Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger.
Lived large. Okay. How does it say France did that? What were the mechanisms?
It mentions a few things. Military control, supporting corrupt governments, puppet governments, it calls them, and specifically the notorious CFA franc system.
The CFA franc.
Yeah.
Right. For listeners who might not be familiar, that's the currency system linking several African nations to, historically the franc, now the euro. And it's been criticized, hasn't it?
Heavily criticized. Critics argue it gave France way too much economic control, essentially.
And the video claims this system was used to do what exactly?
To siphon off billions, basically. Billions in raw materials, gold, uranium, oil, cotton, while, according to the source, the people in those African countries were left in poverty.
So the video argues this historical exploitation is the foundation. And now that foundation is crumbling.
That's exactly where it pivots. It talks about this revolution, this resistance. It highlights the rise of certain African nations. Starts with Burkina Faso under Captain Ibrahim Traoré.
Right. Heard a lot about him.
Then Mali, then Niger. And the video dramatically claims the dominoes are still falling.
So what actions are these nations taking, according to the source?
Well, it lists several things. Expelling French troops is a big one. Tearing up trade deals that the source calls exploitative. And, crucially, taking back control of their own natural resources, their wealth.
Reclaiming their wealth. Okay, so it's presenting a very clear cause and effect.
Yes.
African nations take these actions.
And it has a direct catastrophic impact on France. That's the argument.
Okay, let's break that down. What are the specific examples the video gives? You mentioned uranium earlier.
Yeah, uranium is a key one. The video stresses France's heavy dependence on Niger for uranium for its nuclear power plants. It claims over 30% of France's supply as of 2022 came from Niger.
Over 30%. That's significant.
Very. And the video argues that now, with that supply apparently cut off, France is scrambling, looking for uranium elsewhere, paying much higher prices. It's presented as a major blow.
Okay. Uranium from Niger. What else?
Gold and cotton from Burkina Faso. The source claims that under Traoré, Burkina Faso has moved to nationalize parts of those sectors, building its own refining capacity for gold, for instance.
Ah, so keeping the value added in Africa instead of shipping raw materials out.
Exactly. Cutting off what the video calls the free pipeline to Paris, making sure the profits stay home, and leaving France, quote, in the cold.
And Mali. What does it say about Mali?
It describes Mali as having been a strategic outpost for French interests. Now, the video claims Mali has essentially locked its doors to France.
Locked its doors. Okay, so the source is painting this picture of severed ties, lost resources, lost influence across several key nations.
Precisely. And according to the video, this all adds up. How does it translate into France's wider economy?
Yep. What are the claimed results?
Well, the source says the economy is bleeding, production is stalled, unemployment rising, inflation surging.
So hitting multiple economic indicators.
Right. And it goes further. It claims global credit markets are losing faith in Paris, that the euro's value is slumping because of France's problems. It's quite a bleak assessment.
It really is. Now, how does the source portray the French response, specifically President Macron?
Macron. Well, the video claims he's chosen desperation and denial. That's the phrase used.
Desperation and denial, strong words.
Very. And then it shares this really surprising detail. It alleges that Macron actually begged through diplomatic back channels to get back into Burkina Faso.
Begged. Seriously?
That's the claim. Promising aid, investment, even respect for sovereignty, things the source implies were lacking before.
Wow. And what was the response according to the video?
A firm, unshakable no from Traoré. The video really builds up Traoré here. It says he's not just a president, but the revolution, even the spirit of Thomas Sankara reborn.
Sankara. Right, the former revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso. Yeah. That's a powerful comparison they're drawing. Makes Traoré a symbol of this alleged new African agency.
Absolutely. It's central to the video's whole narrative, but what's maybe even more striking is what the source claims France is doing now, the alleged next steps.
Okay, what does it claim if begging didn't work?
Well, the video alleges Macron is resorting to other tactics. Threats, clotting, using intelligence networks, diplomatic pressure, even covert operatives.
Covert operatives. To do what?
In what the source calls a desperate bid to destabilize the Traoré government.
Destabilize. So actively trying to undermine him. Why such extreme alleged measures?
According to the source, the stakes are incredibly high for France. It says, quote, if Traoré stands, the entire French economic model falls.
The entire model?
Wow.
Sounds huge.
It is. The video argues this isn't just about Burkina Faso or Mali or Niger. It's about France's entire sphere of influence in Africa, the foundation of its economic standing, according to this narrative.
Right, so if these countries successfully break away and reclaim resources, it sets a precedent that could unravel everything for France in the region, as the video sees it.
Exactly, and the source argues this isn't contained. It says the fire is spreading.
Spreading where?
It mentions other countries like Guinea and Senegal, suggesting a wider African awakening, more nations potentially cutting off France from its historical source of wealth, African resources.
There's a real sense of irony the video pushes here, isn't there?
Absolutely. It concludes that the very countries once mocked as Third World are now bringing a G7 economy to its knees.
Bringing a G7 economy to its knees. Quite a claim.
And it adds that the empire France once was, the one that was feared, is now, quote, begging at the gates of Ouagadougou, and Africans are no longer opening the door.
Wow. That's a powerful closing image they create.
Definitely. So just to recap the overall narrative from this source, France isn't collapsing because of, bad luck or just a global recession. No.
It's collapsing, the video argues, because African people refuse to be exploited any longer.
Exactly. It uses this striking phrase, the empire is dying not from without, but from within, because it has lost its parasitic lifeline.
A parasitic lifeline. That's incredibly strong language, framing the historical relationship in very stark terms.
It is. And the source frames this entire situation as a truly historic moment, witnessing the fall of what it calls a modern colonial power.
And significantly, it emphasizes this alleged fall isn't happening through traditional means, right?
Right. Not through war, not through sanctions, according to the video, but through resistance, through unity, through the courage of leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré.
So it's a narrative of internal change within Africa having massive external consequences for France.
That's the core argument presented in The revolution has begun, France is finished. A really dramatic story of shifting power, economic fallout, and, well, revolution, as they call it. It's certainly a singular perspective.
It is. And, stepping back from the video's specific claims for a moment, it does raise a broader question, doesn't it? In our interconnected world, what does a source like this, even if it's just one perspective, suggest about potential long-term shifts? What happens when historical dependencies, these kinds of relationships, are challenged, not necessarily by war, but by internal changes, shifts in sovereignty, control over resources?
That's a really interesting point. What are the ripple effects when those historical dynamics get fundamentally altered from within?
Exactly. What are the economic and political implications down the line? It's something worth thinking about.
Definitely. And maybe to leave you, our listener, with one final thought directly from the source video itself. It claims that for African nations, freedom is not only possible, it is inevitable. And it finishes by saying, this is not the end, this is just the beginning of a new Africa.
The beginning.
Yeah. Something to chew on as you think about global power, economic independence, and these shifting relationships we've been discussing.